for sale on a CD. My God, you see, my brothers and sisters, Paul said that we have the right as Christians to live from what we do. But you see, my brothers and sisters, there's a thin line between greed, my God, and doing the will of God. There's a thin line between greed and carrying out the will of God, because you see, my brothers and sisters, our perception can be, if we're greedy for money, my God, it will hinder the gospel. It would prevent us from spreading the word authoritatively, because you see, my brothers and sisters, people will see us as those who love money more than we love God. And so you see, Paul is making the argument, my God, in verses 12, if others are partakers of this right over you, are we not even more? Nevertheless, we have not used this right. In other words, my brothers and sisters, Christians has a right, preachers has a right to live from what they do. My God, but Paul is saying here in the scriptures, don't be greedy, because if you're greedy, my brothers and sisters, you will hinder the world from coming to God with your greediness. Because in the word of God, it told us that we cannot love God and love money at the same time. And it says here again, it says, nevertheless, we have not used this right, but endure all things, lest we hinder the gospel of Jesus Christ. Do you not know that those who minister in the holy things eat the things of the temple? In other words, my brothers and sisters, those things of the temple, my God, who serve at the altar, those were the Leviticus, the tribe, my God, that came on Aaron and Lee. And my God, what they did, they used to serve the people. And so what God did, God did not give them any land in Canaan. But what happened, the people used to bring to the temple. And so because the people bought the stuff to the temple, the priests used to live, my God, from what the people brought to the temple. So what Paul is saying here in the word of God is that we ought to live based on what the people bring into the temple. But you see, Paul says, nevertheless, we have not used this right, but to endure all things, lest we hinder the gospel. You see, my brothers and sisters, we got to be careful. My God, I got to be careful. The man of God got to be careful that he's not hindering the gospel through greed. You see, my brothers and sisters, because you see, one of the things that God told us is that everything that we do in him must be done through faith. And so you see, my brothers and sisters, in Matthew chapter 6, my God, in Matthew chapter 6, you see, my brothers and sisters, Jesus dealt with this. And it says in Matthew chapter 6, verses 22, what does it say? And it says, the lamb of the body is the eye. If therefore your eyes is good, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eye is bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. If therefore the light that is in you is darkness, how great is that darkness? Here's what Jesus is saying. No one can serve two masters, for either he will hate one and love the other, or else he will be loyal to one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and mammon. In other words, my brothers and sisters, as a preacher, as a pastor, as a teacher, you got to be careful that you're not hindering the word of God, even though you have a right to the showbread. Even though you have the right to the showbread, you got to be careful, because if you're not careful, you will push the world away with your greed. If you're not careful of what you do, my God, you will push the world away with your greed. If you're not careful, my brothers and sisters, the world will walk out of the house of God, because they will say that the people of God are greedy. And so you see, Paul said that even though a pastor, even though the preacher has the right to live from the showbread of the temple, he got to be careful lest he hinder the people of God, lest he hinder the word from coming unto them. Because Jesus said in Matthew chapter 6, verses 22, and it says, no one can serve two masters, for either he will hate one and love the other, or else he will be loyal to one and despise the other. You cannot love God and mammon. You see, my brothers and sisters, over in 1 Timothy chapter 5, it teaches us as a Christian how we ought to live, how the house of God, what they ought to do with what they get. And so you see, my brothers and sisters, if you become where you love money so much, then you will stop carrying out the wishes and the will of God. And so you see, my brothers and sisters, it all comes back to what Jesus said.